The Chuvash Republic is one of the regions of the Russian Federation, and it's located on the river Volga between the Nizhny Novgorod region and the Tatarstan Republic, and at a distance of 650 kilometers to the east from Moscow. Right away, I would like to draw your attention to a very convenient logistical position of the Republic. Yes, it's very convenient, and the peculiarity of our region is as follows. Compared to most of other Russian regions, the Chuvash Republic has a very high density of population and inhabitation. The density of population is about 70 people per 1 square kilometer. It's much more than the average indication. The second thing is that the Chuvash Republic has been historically positioned at the intersection of transport routes between the east and the west, and between the south and the north. From the west to the east, we have a railroad starting in Moscow, going through Kazan, through Yekaterinburg, up to Vladivostok. We also have an interstate from Moscow to the city of Ufa, Yekaterinburg, and Vladivostok. And we also have a network of railroads from the south to the north, going through Syktyvkar, Kirov, Yoshkar-Ola, Cheboksary, Ulyanovsk, Samara, Saratov, and Volgograd. So, logistically speaking, this is a very convenient position. Another peculiarity of the Chuvash Republic is that within the radius of 1,000 kilometers from the city of Cheboksary, there are more than 2/3 of the population of Russia, which means that within 1,000 kilometer radius, including the Moscow agglomeration and Nizhny Novgorod and Samara, Ufa, Yekaterinburg, Perm, we have 2/3 of the population of Russia. And there are also cities which are close to 1 million population head count, such as Voronezh, Saratov, etc. We also have a very convenient transport infrastructure. We have an airport of international class, we have a network of railroads and interstates. So what's the competitive advantage of the Chuvash Republic? I'm not going to describe them in great detail, but first, the Chuvash Republic, starting with the 90s of the 20th century, has become a pilot region for the implementation of lots of innovative projects. In the Chuvash Republic, back when Mr. Fedorov was our president, such innovative projects were implemented as the electronic government, transparent government budget system, innovative environment, investment infrastructure, and innovative legislation. And this policy keeps being handled at a very high level, and we would like to highlight the political stability in our region compared to other regions. So stability is our key advantage. We don't have any internal conflicts. I have already said a few words about the geographical position, the intersection of railroads and the Volga transport route. Over many years, there has been a very efficient economical and budget policy. Our state debt, the state debt of our republic, is one of the lowest compared to other districts. Another advantage of our republic, and I'm going to say a few words about that, is the historically high industrial potential. Since the end of the 50s and the beginning of the 60s, the Cheboksary has been considered an industrial city, and an industrial city of a very high class and with a very high scientific potential and technical potential. We had a hydropower built, and for that hydropower plant, we had a number of facilities maintaining it. Unfortunately, I don't think that it was the right thing to forget about what a territorial technical complex is, because in Cheboksary we have over 50% of electronical and electrotechnical products manufactured in Russia. And currently in Cheboksary we have an electric and technical cluster being developed right now. There are over 50 enterprises in this cluster, and historically Cheboksary has become the center of tractor manufacturing, tractor and bulldozer manufacturing. Back in the 60s, we had a tractor building plant, which became a competitor to such giants as Caterpillar and Komatsu. And currently, it's the Cheboksary that has the headquarters of major tractor building companies of Russia, which actually unites all those enterprises, by which I mean Lipetsk enterprise, Volgograd manufacturing facility, and other ones. We have a developed industrial base as well. So the next profile characteristics is the agricultural and industrial complex. Back in the Soviet times, we had a Chimprom plant built, where unfortunately we manufactured chemical weapons, but since the 60s we ceased the production of those kinds of products. The plant underwent the conversion process, and now it's specialized in the chemicals, low processed chemicals. Another peculiarity of the Chuvash Republic is that we have a very well developed agricultural sector, and currently the state policy targets at the formation of the agricultural cluster in our region. Another competitive advantage, which is also historically inherited from the Soviet Union, and by that I mean a very highly qualified engineering workforce. See, we had this power territorial complex and a tractor building complex, and for that kind of facilities we needed a high number of specialists, and we had a few branches of the Moscow universities, and we still come up with a very highly qualified graduates. There are lots of departments in those universities, such as electrification department, engineering departments, and lots of good specialists. Plus, we have a decent ecological environment. As I've already said, the Cheboksary city is located on the Volga River, and we're trying to develop our city also as a recreation zone and a resort area. Given all this, I would like to highlight the fact that strategic development of the Chuvash Republic is based on the development of 4 major clusters. Electrotechnical cluster, and by the way, given the results of the competition held last year by the government of the Russian Federation, we are getting all kinds of state support in this cluster. The second cluster is tractor or heavy machinery building cluster. The third one is the chemical cluster, and in the framework of this cluster I'm going to say a few more words a bit later. And in November, the first time in Russia, we are going to open a plant targeted at the production of solar modules, solar batteries, using thin film technology. This is one of the major projects of Rosnano Corporation, rolled out over the territory of the Russian Federation. So the opening of this plant is planned for November. This is a really innovative project for the Russian Federation. It's a joint project between Rosnano and Orgsynthos plant, belonging to Viktor Vekselberg. The next cluster, which is also supported by the Republican authorities, is the recreational and tourist cluster. Another one, given the convenient geographical position, is the transport and logistical cluster. Given the fact that Cheboksar is located very conveniently, only 100 kilometers from the city of Kazan, and they say that Kazan is the third capital of Russia. So it's 100 kilometers to Kazan and 250 kilometers to the city of Nizhny Novgorod. So our capital is Cheboksary, and currently we are developing the policy on the targeted at the formation of the city agglomeration. The population of Cheboksary is 430,000 people. And we also have a satellite city, which is called Novocheboksarsk. Its population is 130 or 150,000 people. And it's the city of Novocheboksarsk, where we have Himprom chemical plant, and it's the city of Novocheboksarsk where we are going to produce solar modules. The distance between the capital and the satellite is only 13 kilometers. And we also have a new city project implemented together with VTB Bank. We are trying to unite these cities, and the actual distance between the cities is only 6 or 7 kilometers. So we could really be talking about the city agglomeration here. And if we include Novocheboksarsk, our population could amount to over 700,000 people. And if we unite some more cities, it's going to be even higher. Right now, our enterprises have developed a very close strategic partnership with major companies such as Rosnano, Russian Railways. And another advantage is that strategic partnership has been developed in the sphere of technical industrial. By this I mean the systems of automatic management, systems of automatic control, and relay building enterprises. So basically that's what allows us to automate control processes in our technical industry. And the companies we communicate with are Gazprom, Rosnano, etc. As for the economics of the region, the crisis state, which the crisis effects that touched most of the regions, we managed to cope with it back in 2010, and currently the Chuvash Republic is one of the regions which actually developed very dynamically compared to other ones. I'm not going to say too much here. This slide says about the experience on the partnership between the Chuvash enterprises with particular enterprises. So we have a very close partnership with Rosnano. By that I also mean the smart house, the solar module manufacturing. Also we have a very well developed agricultural sector and agricultural processing sector as well. I've said a few words about that already. I've also said about that one of the key industries we deal with is the heavy machinery building complex, and compared to certain regions, even back in the 90s, we were quite competitive and we didn't have any setbacks, major setbacks in terms of machinery building, because we have a very highly qualified workforce and a very good engineering basis. So our main industries are tractor building, the production of specialized vehicles, the production of spare parts for agricultural equipment, and the electronics and avionics. Also the production of looms. Currently we have textile mash plant, which keeps manufacturing weaving looms to the so-called countries of the third world. By that I mean Cuba, Pakistan, the North Korea, etc. We also come up with different kinds of wires and cables. And we also have tractor wagon plant, which manufactures railroad cars. And here I would like to highlight major enterprises of Chuvash with which you could cooperate. One of them is Elara joint stock company. It's not exactly a public company. 90% of their products are manufactured for the military, the electronics for the military aviation, for Su-27, for MiG planes, and Elara is one of the leading developers of printed circuit boards of classes 4 and 5. It also manufactures ATMs. It's quite a scientific base, and it also manufactures sea navigational equipment and industrial electronics. Another enterprise, as I've said, is the enterprise which is called Cheboksary Circuit Board Factory, joint stock company. And we also have ABS ZAME automation plant. It also pertains to the electric and technical cluster. It provides a wide range of products, starting with microelectronics, and it also provides engineering services in regards to all its products. Another enterprise is Electropribor JSC, which is specialized in electrical appliances production, different kinds of magnetoelectric and electromagnetic systems. Another one is Promtractor. It's basically a headquarters of the tractor building manufacturers corporation. It provides all kinds of industrial tractors, and its strategy now is to enter the Asian, Latin American, and African markets. The ratio between quality and costs, the tractors are quite competitive compared to those of Komatsu and Caterpillar. Another enterprise with which you could also communicate is the Schumerlin GSC, which manufactures specialized vehicles and different kinds of mobile complexes for our Ministry of Defense in the framework of our defense complex. You might have seen some of them during our parades on the Red Square. Most of them, well, not most of them, but a significant part of them is manufactured at the Schumerlin JSC. And lots of enterprise, though they still manufacture military products, they underwent the conversion back in the 90s, and together with the military products, they also produced lots of things for the civilians. Different kinds of equipment for geological and exploratory missions. So another enterprise is the Kombinat Автомобильных Фургонов, and by that I mean automobile body manufacturing plant for all kinds of purposes, both military and civilian. Back in the Soviet Union, it also produced very wide-known Schumerlin furniture, and this furniture was actually used for when lots of Moscow halls were furnished. They ceased the production of furniture long ago, but they still come up with a very good car bodies. Another enterprise is, and I've said that already, is Textilmash. It provides our population with weaving looms of a very wide range of purposes. And it still communicates with lots of countries because there is a demand abroad for our looms. So we ship them to lots of countries of the third world currently. Yet another enterprise is the Cheboksarski Agregatny Zavod. It manufactures different kinds of components for agricultural equipment, for buses, for our railroads, different kinds of locks, cast iron radiators, iron and steel casting. And right now, the Cheboksary component factory is one of the enterprises which pertain to the Corporation of Tractor Manufacturers. Another one is Promtractor Promlit, one of the largest Russian industrial casting factories. We are also we have a very well developed chemical industry enterprises. As I've already said, there is a Chimprom enterprise. It provides us with all kinds of inorganic products and organic products for industry, for domestic purposes, for household. And it also provides people with different kinds of chemical protection. Here we have the list of the products they manufacture, different agrochemicals, organosilicon products, inorganic products, etc. Another one is Cheboksary Federal State Unitary Enterprise Cheboksary Production Association. So what it manufactures is actually, if at the New Year's Eve you have seen fireworks and salutes, you might have seen our products. So it manufactures fireworks, and most of them are shipped to the Latin America, to the countries of the Third World. And they also manufacture means which are used for the clearing of the sky. Another enterprise is the enterprise called percarbonate. It's specialized in the production of peroxide whiteners, which are used as whitening reagents in textile industry, in chemical industry, and others. So I've basically highlighted the enterprises which were created back in the Soviet Union times and which are still developing very successfully. But apart from them, in the 90s, there were also created a few enterprises, so they're quite new ones, using innovative technologies, and one of such enterprises is Galen Company, which last year was visited by the management of our country. It manufactures different kinds of reinforcing bars for brickworks, for insulation of solid cast buildings. So different kinds of basalt plastic reinforcing bar for the construction in the Russian market. And the technology they use, quite an innovative technology, is very competitive compared to the traditional ones. And right now, this Galen company is entering overseas markets because they use the technology using composite materials. It's a composite basalt plastic material, which is compared to steel bars, has better characteristics. And by the characteristics, I also mean the costs. Another enterprise is, and I would like to say a few words about the partnership with other enterprises in terms of composite-based materials. They started a joint venture specializing in the production of high-tech composite studs. We have an affiliate in Belarus, and I think their products and their technology have a very high potential in terms of both military and civilian application and in the communication sphere. In the framework of the created city agglomeration, a very big significance belongs to the so-called solar Sun Valley. Its developer is Hevel Company, and Hevel Company produces solar modules. Hevel, translated from the Chuvash into Russian, means sun. The main purpose of this Sun Valley is to create a high-tech area with a varied manufacturing and research and development infrastructure for modern, innovative production to locate there. So basically it's located within the territory of Chimprom, which got unoccupied after the conversion. As for the next slide, though we have a very positive dynamics, the Chuvash Republic is very interested in the attraction of investors. And in regards to that, in the Chuvash Republic, we have come up with an infrastructure which supports the whole investment process, starting with the coming of an investor and its support during the whole investment cycle, including the stage of product come out. We also have an institution for the support of investors. So we have the following elements of the investment support. The first one is the legislative support. By legislative support, I mean the consideration of certain tax exemptions in regards to the regional legislation. So if you invest over 50 million rubles, you get a tax exemption in regards to the property tax, over 50%. Also, the leasing subjects are not taxed. Different legal entities get different kinds of tax exemptions. Also, we have investment commercial loans, and by that I also mean the taxation and the taxes paid to the Republican budget. We also give state guarantees, tender-based state guarantees. Another institute is the subsidies for turnkey preparation of investment areas. We also give different exemptions and different discounts in regards to the rent payments. I think that these kinds of discounts and exemptions are very important, but still there should also be support, non-financial support, but organizational support. And it's my personal opinion that the competition amongst the regions is now mainly regarding the financial support. I understand that in the sphere of financial support, we have a certain lag. All the regions use the same instruments of financial support, and that's what they focus on. And I think we should focus on the support which is not financial. By that I mean organizational support. First of all, it's the Corporation of Development of the Chuvash Republic, which was created lately. There has also been created the Center for Export Goods Support, which I think works very efficiently. We also have a Republican Venture Fund. We also have a state fund for the support of small and average businesses, small and medium businesses. Another form of state support is the close cooperation with the financial and investment communities. And the Cooperation for the Development of the Chuvash Republic works with investors based on one window principle. So when an investor comes, they are fully accompanied throughout the whole process of investment. We understand very clearly that the key factors of success of any kind of investment in our region are four factors. The first factor is the institutionalized or legislative support, and I've said that already. Another factor is the organizational support of investors. And our regional institutes of development, they were created and they operate very efficiently. Another element which is also important for the investors is the preparation of human resources, because human resources define everything. And given this, our task, the task of regional authorities, is to come up with decent specialists for those clusters which have already been formed. And by that, I mean the preparation of human resources starting with middle school. And I think the main task here is to provide the formed clusters with very highly qualified specialists. That's where enterprises should communicate with the educational segment. Another element which I think also deserves certain attention is the creation of system of support of the innovations. Because whether we want it or not, the economics is based on the innovations. And I think this complex approach, which I have described, might allow the investors feel comfortable in our region. I personally invite you to cooperate with us, and our priority activities, the activities which we're interested in, I have already highlighted them. And I would like to say on my behalf that the government of the Chuvash Republic is interested very much in new investors coming to the region, and it wants to make them feel comfortable, and it's ready to do everything in order, in the framework of this investment pipeline. They might not only come to us, but they might come with ready investment projects. So thank you very much, and I'm ready to answer your questions. I represent the Russian Economical University. Sorry, the interpreter doesn't get any sound. See, we've had lots of speeches today back in the main hall and here. We listened to them very carefully. And the main thing everyone was talking about is that the investor should come to the industrial sector. And for lots of years within the Russian Federation, the social sector has been slowing down, and its development does not show any positive dynamics. Our federal programs, our legislation, our regulatory acts declare that regions should attract investors also for the social segment development. So how exactly do you do it in the Chuvash Republic? Could you please share your experience with us in regards to the social segment development? Thank you very much for a brilliant question, because yes, that's true. I have forgotten to mention the investments into the social sector. In our republic, over the last, I guess, 15 years, apart from the investments into the industrial sector, there have been investments into the social sector. And until lately, the investments have been made on behalf of our Republican budget, for the account of the federal budget as well. Now they talk a lot about the construction of perinatal centers, birth assistance centers, and actually it's Chuvash where a pilot project was handled several years ago. The presidential birth assistance center was built, and back at the beginning of the 21st century, we had a great eye surgery center built because there is a great scientist, Mr. Fedorov, a great ophthalmologist who was born in Chuvash, and he was very widely known. And after he became famous at the end of the 80s, and in Cheboksary we came up with a state-of-the-art eye surgery center. In the 90s, we also built different kinds of medical centers, which are also state-of-the-art, orthopedic centers and traumatology centers. And my personal opinion, and I could share it with you because you are my colleague to some extent, and my personal opinion is that over the last, I guess, 2 years, at the regional level, we've come to this understanding that the investment should also be made into the social sector. And right now, at the legislative level, we're trying to find the opportunity in order to raise some funds in the medical sector, the kindergarten sector, and etc., etc. We are now actively assessing overseas experience, Spanish and Italian types of experience, how they organize the operation of their clinics. And our task is to make the investors feel that it's profitable for them to come into the social sector. That's why I'm all for the development and future of the social sector and its investing. Good afternoon. Thank you, Leonid Valerievich, for your report and for your time. My name is Nikolai Kuzmin. I represent Investor.ru company. You see, your region is very special compared to other regions because you're very calm, but you still do your thing and nobody knows what's going on there. And given the late entering of Russia into WTO, the picture describing the agricultural segment in the Chuvash Republic is very interesting. So back in the 90s and at the beginning of the 21st century, how exactly did you protect your manufacturers and your enterprises? Is there any protection mechanism for the Chuvashian manufacturers after Russia has entered WTO? Thank you very much for another good question. Well, as for the 90s, I was reasonably young back then, and I can only judge based on my feelings and on the memories I've got from back then. And the peculiarities of our regional policy back in the 90s was that at major enterprises we had these common mechanisms of privatization. And if you remember, some of the enterprise shares belong to the state, some of them belong to the private persons. And when we organize the tenders, privatization tenders, we try to set very high and strict criteria for our investors, because we wanted to maintain and keep the profile of this or that enterprise. Yes, of course, an enterprise could lose certain amount of money and profit, and I guess this policy turned out to be very successful because it has recovered. And another peculiarity is that we had a very strict policy compared to certain other regions in regards to the sales of our enterprise, because we managed to keep our enterprises as unite industrial complexes. They didn't break down into separate workshops and enterprises, and as you know, that was a major trend in Russia back then. Still, history shows and experience shows that major enterprises, specifically after entering WTO, turn out to be the most competitive ones. As for the protection after entering WTO, well, that's a complicated issue. But my personal opinion is that, unfortunately, with our mentality, until something happens, we won't do anything. And I think we have entered WTO without any preparedness whatsoever. But it doesn't mean that we have to accept it, because I think we still have time. And as for the Republican authorities, well, we're going to develop our agricultural and technical industry. And in the near future, together with the representatives of the State Duma, we are going to have a few hearings in regards to the protection of the interests of our electric and technical industry in the framework and in the context of entering WTO. So we would like to work out certain conditions and mechanisms which would protect both our domestic manufacturers And it should also give us the opportunities which is given to us by WTO entering. And another idea of mine is that whether we want it or not, today economics is modeled as a number of logistical chains, manufacturing and logistical chains, and most of those chains only exist out of Russia. So we should use and we should apply the mechanisms and the instruments of WTO given the logistics chains we have. That's my point of view. Another thing yet. Unfortunately, given our legislation, we have a common economic space. And we cannot protect this or that manufacturer separately. And here, the task of the regional authorities is to do their best and to tackle the issue of the protection of the whole conglomerate of manufacturers. I'm a chairman of the Committee on Trade of the Moscow Association of Entrepreneurs. My name is Veronica, and we have the following question. Given your information, I understood that half of the population of the Chuvash Republic lives in the rural area. So are there any advantages for the investors into the agricultural sector? Saying that agricultural sector develops very successfully is not exactly correct, just like in the rest of Russia. Unfortunately, the agricultural sector, not only now, but over the last 50 years, it has been one of the most problematic segments for the Russian Federation. I would not like to get deep into the details, because it could be an endless discussion on why the agricultural sector does not develop the way we want it. Well, as for the Chuvash Republic in particular, the visual feeling you get when you arrive in the Chuvash Republic by train, by car, or by bus from the north and then to the east, and you can go to the Vladimir region. Well, you will pass the Vladimir region, the Nizhny Novgorod region, and their agricultural sectors, and the picture you get is not exactly the thing that could make you happy. But then you reach the Chuvash Republic, and well, the overall picture and the way our villages see, it's much better than in the Vladimir or Nizhny Novgorod region. Then you get to the Tatarstan, and it's comparable to the Chuvash Republic, because the state of things in the Tatar Republic is also pretty good. You see, given the mentality of the Chuvash people, because 60 or 70% of our population are the Chuvash, not Russians, and given their mentality, they tried to keep what they had, and they tried to maintain the agricultural sector. So I think back in the 90s, it was not as damaged as the other regions. Another peculiarity of the Chuvash Republic is that it's got, as I've said already, a very high density of population. And it's also provided by the high density of rural population. The distance between villages is like 3-5 kilometers. And objectively speaking, the construction of major agricultural complexes with a head count of cows, for example, of cattle of 300,000 or 500,000 doesn't seem exactly rational from the point of view of ecology. But still, we have a very successfully developing farming complex. We have different kinds of poultry enterprises, but at the same time we are interested in the investors coming to the Chuvash Republic, and I'm not talking about the villages and or I actually mean the whole agricultural complex, which also means processing. So personally, my own opinion is that our agricultural development level is much higher than in the rest of the regions. My name is Haman Hanef. I'm a representative of the Trade and Commerce Chamber of Ingushetia. So the question is, where exactly should an investor come? Whom should he or she contact? And how much time passes since an investor has contacted you? For example, if an investor wants to have a look at a certain village, how much time passes until the agreement signing? So basically, an investor first contacts the Corporation for the Development of the Republic of Chuvash. After that, the corporation starts bearing the function of document drawing. It also accompanies the investors and the project, and it coordinates the operation of all the ministries involved and the local authorities. And here we don't have a very clear timeline because every project is unique, and it also depends on where an investor wants to invest. Is there any leverage, probably, or if an investor wants to use a certain plot of land and there are certain problems connected with that plot of land, so it will take some time. But I think that the goal and objective of our Republican authorities is to come up with 100% ready and clear and legally approved plots of land. If an investor wants to handle a project in the rural area of the Republic and the plot of land is absolutely ready, and there have been engineering communications built, so I think 3 or 4 months will take with a ready plot of land, if there is no any encumbrance or something like that. But I could also say that we actively work on the reduction of that timeline. And now the objective is to reduce this timeline down to 45 days, which is 1.5 months. And another problem, and I think it's quite a common problem, is the problem of mentality at a low level. And unfortunately here we have to press some people, and we have to see to it so that there was no any delays or problems or something like that. But I think a 45-day period seems reasonable and doable. Could we have a look at your state any criteria for entering your state corporation for the development? Well, there is no any criteria in regards to the investment rates. I mean, if you have 100,000 of rubles, you can also enter. You can also contact. We represent the Western investors in the Russian market, and we were pleased to hear your speech. So we still get the feeling that the priority segments are the heavy lifting industry and heavy machinery industry and the production of batteries and solar modules. You see, our investors mainly involved in the wood processing sectors. So do you have any kinds of that kind of facilities in your republic? Different kinds of plywood production facilities? And do you have any resources for the wood processing? And by that I mean like aspen or birch processing facilities. Well, you see the list of projects implemented over the last decade with the participation of foreign investors. So we have come up with hydro massage bathtubs, together with Spanish investors. We also have come up with a beer brewery and plants manufacturing sauces and ketchups, and other plants manufacturing electronics and transformers. Unfortunately, I don't have it on this slide, but we also have furniture manufacturers, and these are all the projects implemented over the last 10 years. In the 90s, we didn't work with wood processing and timber processing projects, but right now we work with it. We have an enterprise, for example, which is actually involved in parquet, woodblock production. And this is quite an exclusive product because about 40 or 50% of this product goes to Europe, to Spain, Switzerland, to Germany. So this is a very high quality parquet flooring. Well, as for our forest potential, our timber potential, I only highlighted the main things. As for our priorities, well, yes, our future is closely connected to the past, but it's not determined by the past. So, speaking about the perspective and potential, it's not only heavy machinery, it's also nanotechnologies, it's alternative power systems, and the future is also about high quality wood processing and timber and lumber facilities. It's about accurate chemistry. And here, for example, if you take this enterprise producing parquet flooring, why is it of so high quality? You see, we've got lots of forests in the Chuvash Republic. But the Chuvash Republic is somewhere in the midst between the south and the north. It's something in between taiga and forest steppe. So we have a very different kinds of forests. Back in the 20th century, pine wood was shipped from the Chuvash Republic. So I think we have a very high quality wood processing complex. But still, the Chuvash Republic also occupies a very convenient geographical position. I think you all have this picture of where it's located. And we also have a railroad network. Railroad starting in Moscow, going through Cheboksary, and further on to Kazan. But we also have a road leading from the north to the south, through Yashkar-Ola, Kirov, and Syktyvkar, and the Perm district as well. And it's all about forests. They've got lots of timber in there. For example, wood production could be accomplished within the territory of Mariel, within the Kirov region. And we could do the wood processing within the Chuvash Republic. I think there is a very interesting future behind this. And still, this sphere has not been exactly formalized or institutionalized. SMEs deal with it, but there is no any large companies working in the sphere of wood processing in the Chuvash Republic. So this niche is free so far. I mean, small enterprises, yes, they deal with wood processing. And when I mentioned high-quality parquet flooring, yes, I'm very proud of this, but it's still a small enterprise, given the context of the Russian Federation. So we have already infrastructure which we could use for the investment projects targeted at the wood processing. I'm ready to discuss and tackle these issues. Distinguished colleagues, any more questions? And now, finally, speaking about the future, I would like to give you the overview of certain investment projects which could be implemented within the territory of the Russian Federation. I'm only going to highlight the topics of this. I'm not going to go into details. If you are interested, you can get the copy, soft or hard copy of the presentation right here. If you want it, we can send it to you via email, and we also have it on our website, and we are ready to send it out to anyone who wishes to get it. Yeah, actually right here we have the list of projects. On the picture you can see the logistical complex, petrol stations, convenience stores. We also have the project dedicated to the peat processing and extraction of soil modifiers for agriculture, recreational area development project on the banks of the river Volga, the development of tourist segments, the development of the logistical center, the city agglomeration between Cheboksary and Novocheboksarsk satellite city. So thank you very much. Thank you for your attention, and I welcome you in our partnership.